Thank you. Isn't it strange how half of all internet traffic ends up in the hands of just 5 companies? And these companies are not well liked. In fact, they're quite widely disliked. Why do we use things that we don't like? And how did the internet get to this point? It started with the glorious vision of the World Wide Web. They imagined a place where all the world's information was at your fingertips, where anyone could message anyone instantly, where cat memes could circle the world freely. Anyone could spin up a website and fill a gap in demand, and if it was successful, you could start earning money. No company, no boss, no corporation, just a person with a computer and enough time. It doesn't matter how niche that website would be. In fact, it actually helps. The superpower of the internet is in connecting the most specific and insular niches. For example, you could build a website about the X-Files, and people did. You could build a website about skiing. You could register ilovejustintimberlake.com. And people could find it and go to it. If your name was Don and you liked dinosaurs, you could register dinodon.com. And if it was good, people would go to it. It hardly cost any money to make, and it hardly cost any money to reach millions of people. Dinodon.com could rival the biggest dinosaur companies in the world. The internet democratized the ability to create things. It was no longer down to mega corporations with millions to spend on building their walled gardens. It was in the hands of the people. And this is good for everyone. Competition is good for everyone. Competition creates better outcomes. When you have a level playing field where anyone can create anything, the good stuff eventually rises to the top. And now, whenever you search for anything, someone's built something for it. Someone's got some information, catalogued it, made a website about it. You can find anything. It was a glorious vision. There was an explosion of competition and an explosion of creativity and innovation. And then came the Web 2.0 era. I'm defining Web 2.0 as the shift towards websites that you could interact with. It wasn't just a one-way street. You could post on Facebook, you could post on Twitter, you could upload videos on YouTube, you could sell things on Amazon, you could ride on Uber, you could drive people, you could upload YouTube videos. This gave rise to the notion of 1,000 true fans. So for creators, for entrepreneurs, for anyone building anything, you no longer had to build something that everyone liked and that had mainstream appeal. The internet could connect you with the people who loved what you were doing, no matter how specific it was. And you only needed 1,000 people to really love what you're doing. If those 1,000 people were willing to give you, say, £100 for what you're doing, if it really resonated with them, 100 times 1,000 is 100,000. That's fantastic. That's a business. That's a living. The internet enabled tiny niches and subcultures to thrive. It was a wonderful time of creativity, of freedom, where everyone had a voice, everyone could feel like they could belong somewhere. This is the future that we were promised, but this is the world that transpired. The dream of people being able to connect with and resonate with their most specific things that they love the most was true, but the dream that creators could earn a living from producing content in that niche was not what happened. Let's take Spotify, for example. I'm going to reveal this chart as we go. The total number of musicians on Spotify across all genres, all decades, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, everyone that's uploaded anything to Spotify, there's 12 million of them. So that's a lot. But obviously, some of these are quite bad, really. Not everyone's good at music, unfortunately. Even if they are specific or niche, quite a lot of people don't actually make it. So the number of artists that have released 10 or more songs, which I think is the sort of a good way to decide who's actually kind of really trying, who's actually trying to be a musician, who's actually got a good bit of momentum going. There's 4 million. So understandably, most people don't make it. Now this last bar is the important one. This is the number of people earning, the number of artists earning more than $50,000, which is the median salary in the US. It converts to roughly the median salary in the UK. And this is the gross revenue that they're receiving. So before the cost of making the music, before obviously they've got to pay for studio time, for mixing, for mastering, for marketing, maybe the label takes a cut. This really, after you deduct those costs, this is the threshold for surviving on music, just on Spotify. And that's this many. It's less than a pixel on the screen. It's 22,000 people, 22,000 artists across every genre of music, from Norwegian trance music to 60s Korean power ballads. Only 22,000 can actually survive just on their music, because Spotify are taking the lion's share of the money. I'm surprised that musicians haven't gone down the road of YouTubers and Instagram creators and started doing brand deals for their content. I'm surprised Adele didn't release Hello Fresh. I'm surprised the Spice Girls didn't sing, "If you want to be my lover, you got to get NordVPN." If Whitney Houston was still around, she'd be singing, "I Will Always Love Fuel." This isn't the case. And partly that's because musicians have another source of income, which is gigs. Some musicians say they earn more from one gig than they do from a year of Spotify payouts. So Web2 companies are Extractive, and that's all of them. Obviously, Spotify is just the main example. YouTube takes 45% of creator earnings. Uber takes between a quarter and a half of all fares. Instagram and Facebook basically don't pay creators at all. But that's not all. These Web2 companies also incentivize things that we don't even want. The best example being Twitter, which is a toxic hellhole. It's an awful place. It is filled with just the most insane stuff. I don't know how people actually use Twitter, but I do. I do use Twitter because for me it's the main way to kind of stay up to date with the industry, to see what's happening. And that's because of the people on Twitter rather than the platform itself. The platform itself will surface all the kind of misinformation and rage bait and things that just make you angry because that's how the algorithm is designed. And it's designed that way because they need to make money. They need you to stay on the platform. They need to incentivize the things that make you stay on the platform, that drive their ad revenue, that drive their profit. But these are not the things that we actually want. YouTube is another example of this. You're incentivized to stay on the platform. They optimize very highly for the watch time, the amount of time you spend watching videos. And it's awful. It's not actually good. It's not what we want. I'm sick of seeing videos that look like this, right? This shocking thing demands your attention. That's not real, obviously. That's my evil cousin. But I've seen so much of this, and that's what it's like. That's what YouTube is like nowadays. But I still love YouTube. I love it because of the people creating on the platform. I love it because of the videos and the quality of the content, not because of the platform itself. But the thing is that all the creators on YouTube, they're not uploading their videos anywhere else because people aren't watching it anywhere else. It's a vicious cycle. You don't have the users, you don't have the creators. If you don't have the creators, you don't have the users. They're not going to upload it to Dailymotion, for example, unless what they're uploading is French reality show Secret Story, episode 7, no subtitles, or Real Mermaid caught on camera. This is what Dailymotion is like. It's ridiculous. It's masquerading as a video platform, but actually it's more like two kids in a trench coat trying to get into an illegal adult film. So no one watches Dailymotion. Because of that, no one creates and uploads to Dailymotion. And because of that, no one watches Dailymotion. So Web2 companies incentivize bad things. Things like misinformation, emotional stimulation, clickbait, rage bait, filter bubbles, attention hijacking. These are terms that we've had to get used to in this era. These are things that we've had to learn about. And it's because of their incentives are just to drive profit. But here's where it gets worse. Told through the story of Farmville. Who here remembers Farmville? Give me a cheer if you remember Farmville. Okay, these are some happy people. So Farmville was created by a company called Zynga, and it was created on Facebook back in the day. And because it was created on Facebook, that meant that it had these amazing social features right out of the gate. So you could post about your farm, you could invite other people to your farm, you could connect with people. It had this like really cool interconnected feel. It had features that other games didn't, because it launched on a site that already had so many users. It picked up users very quickly. This is actually one of the most successful games of all time. It had something like 100 million users. So it had 10 times as many features built in from day one because it was launched on Facebook. And quickly people started speculating that the future of gaming is built on Facebook, that the future of gaming is social gaming, because it had all these features. And in 2011, Zynga made up 12% of Facebook's annual revenue. So it was a big chunk of Facebook's business coming from basically Farmville. Now, Facebook didn't like this. Facebook didn't like having such a large chunk of their business being out of their control. They changed their algorithm so that people would see less Farmville content and more things that they did control. But also, Zynga didn't like the fact that they were fully dependent on Facebook not changing things. Zynga started redirecting people away from Facebook and to their own website. That didn't go down well. Facebook blocked them from doing this. They literally went into Farmville and said, no, you can't do that. You can't take people away from our platform. And so they blocked it. And Zynga realized that their whole business was basically controlled by Facebook, not by them. And Farmville eventually kind of fizzled out and came to nothing. And so did Zynga. You can't build a business on top of another business, because ultimately it's that other business that controls it. Another example of this is TweetDeck, which was a really early client for Twitter. They basically came up with these cool new features. They said we can improve the UI. I don't know why they thought that. They said we can change the algorithm. We can have a better algorithm. This was back in the days when Twitter limited you to 140 characters. And they said, hey, let's build something on Twitter where you can tweet with more than 140 characters. So they built that feature. And if you went to TweetDeck, you could see tweets that were more than 140 characters. Twitter didn't like this. They were taking users away from Twitter's platform. They were taking money away from Twitter's platform. So, slowly but surely, Twitter basically shut them down over time. And what happened to dinodon.com? The question we all want answered. Well, Dinodon started relying on Google to send him traffic. And that worked well. He started optimizing for Google. He started optimizing to rank highly in the search results. But then Google changed their rules. Google had adverts as the first search result, and that reduced the traffic going to dinodon.com. Then Google said, let's have adverts as the first 3 search results, which reduced the traffic further. Then Google said, let's have adverts as the top 5 search results, which reduced the traffic further. Then Google said, let's try and actually take the content from dinodon.com and summarize it on Google so that people don't even have to click through. And so people aren't clicking through anymore. Web2 companies suppress innovation. You can't build on them. It's like building a new conservatory when you don't even own your house, you're just renting. Right? If you do that, that conservatory is not yours, it's the landlord's. Web2 is an era of rented internet space. There is no building allowed, there is no innovation, there is no progress. And then there's Jeff here. Amazon has been accused of doing all sorts of awful things, tax dodging, spying on workers, trashing the planet, stopping unions from forming. These Web2 companies can pretty much do whatever they want because there is no competition. They are essentially monopolies. Uber's another example. They've been accused of not even treating their workers as workers and not even giving them basic workers' rights. Facebook's probably another example. They have been accused of selling your data and doing all sorts of things with privacy that people don't like. But they can do pretty much whatever they want, and you have to put up with it. This process has a name. It's enshittification. Right? The gradual deterioration of a service or product brought about by a reduction in the quality of service provided, especially of an online platform, and as a consequence of profit seeking. Basically what it means is the internet is controlled by just a handful of people, a handful of mega billionaires who extract value, incentivize bad things, you can't build on them, and they can do what they want. And I'm not having a go at billionaires. I mean, I am, but not as like, if these people were creating a lot of value and making things a lot better, then great, reward them with that. But they're not doing that. They're running extractive monopolies that we overwhelmingly don't like. It's as if they've all watched this YouTube tutorial. But how did this happen? Why is it like this? These companies form through network effects. So with network effects, let's take Facebook, for example. If there's only 2 people on Facebook, it's not a very good platform. You only have one connection, there's not much to do. If there's loads of people on Facebook, it's a great platform. There's lots to do. This happens whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Amazon, all of them. The platform gets better as there are more users. And it gets exponentially better too. And then as nearly everyone joins, there's diminishing returns. But once a company has gone through this process, once a company has got a network on their platform, what happens to the competitors who don't have that network? So when there are all these social media companies trying to create the next Facebook, they're trying to do that with just a couple of people on their platform, and it's just not as good. It doesn't matter what ideas they have to make a better version of Facebook. It doesn't matter how they think they can improve the algorithm. It doesn't matter the creativity, the innovation that they have on their platform. It's just not as good if people aren't on there. This is how we've got stuck using platforms we hate that do bad things and that extract value. So let's just recap quickly. The internet, glorious vision. Web 2.0 was even more glorious, but there's one big problem, which is basically monopolization. Half of all web traffic now goes to 5 companies. Monopolies are bad because they extract value, incentivize bad things, you can't build on them, and they can do what they want. And these monopolies formed because of network effects. So what's the solution? How do we fix this? Enter the creatively named Web3. This is the movement to decentralize the internet, to move it away from these centralized companies and put networks into a decentralized structure. So no one company controls it or owns it. No company can do whatever they want with it. Most often, it means building on blockchains rather than servers. So with blockchains, you can put anything on a blockchain. You can put code on a blockchain, you can put a program on a blockchain, you can put a website on a blockchain. And blockchains, when you put code on them, that code can inherit the properties of that blockchain. And the main thing is that blockchains are decentralized. Okay? So instead of having a server like this, where all the information is in the center, it's controlled by one company, and it goes out to all the computers, it's actually shared on a blockchain. It's shared amongst all the computers. It doesn't exist in any one place. They all kind of agree on a consensus in the middle, but no one company owns it. It's decentralized. And that gives it some very beneficial properties. It is worth saying you don't always have to use a blockchain if you want to be decentralized. There are other ways to build decentralized software, but blockchains do give you some hard guarantees of decentralization and some useful properties. So I'm going to give you an example of this, just so you can kind of conceptualize it very easily. This is a platform called Farcaster. Farcaster is a decentralized social media network. It's a bit like Facebook or Twitter or Reddit or all these kinds of things. But it's built on a blockchain. So the users are actually accounts on a blockchain. The connections that they make with each other are stored on-chain. The content is decentralized. So that means that it's not owned by Farcaster, a company. It's owned by a decentralized protocol. And that means people can build their own clients, for example. So this is Supercast. And in this, there's all the same content from Farcaster, which is pulled from the blockchain, but it's just in a different app. And so they can innovate. They can create new algorithms. They can create a new interface, whatever they want. This is Farcord. It's someone's decided they liked the Discord user interface and thought they should just put all the Farcast content in that interface. Don't know why, but they did. So it's like TweetDeck did for Twitter, but this time it can't be shut down. It's not going to be suppressed. It's actually going to be encouraged. someone decided they wanted tipping in Farcaster, the ability to tip the posts that they like, so they just built it. They built this in a standard called a mini app, which is kind of more like a plugin, so people can use that plugin in their apps. But yeah, if you want tipping, you can just install that plugin and use it. And this is a platform called Remix, which is built on top of Farcaster. It's a gaming platform. And this is, I think, where it gets interesting. And don't worry if I lose you here, but the idea behind this is, what if you can build a decentralized platform on top of a decentralized platform? What if you don't just have lots of competitor centralized platforms on top of a decentralized platform? What if you have lots of decentralized platforms on top of a decentralized platform? So with Remix, a gaming platform, what if people can just make their own games and put it in Remix, and they can trust that Remix isn't going to change the rules, it's not going to do all the things that we've seen Web2 companies do. And so now, this has over 800 games. I've played nearly all of them. They are really good. Most importantly, they are encouraging the kind of creativity and innovation. And actually, Remix makes it really easy to be the builder, to build your own games. They've got this really cool portal, you can build it with AI. But unlike with Zynga and Facebook, this is not going to end with the rules being changed and the business is destroyed. They're like little Lego bricks that stack on top of each other. And anyone can use bits of Lego bricks in their thing, they can build their own stack. This quote, "Composability is to software as compound interest is to finance." It's a really interesting quote, because what we're building here is something that can be exponential. It can build on top of other things. And most importantly, these things can't be shut down. They're not building on rented space. It ensures the long-term success. So the mindset that I think we've been stuck with, especially for entrepreneurs over the last decade, over the last generation really, is to build the platform. We've had so many people trying to build the next Facebook or the next Spotify or the Uber for dogs or whatever. And that's because in Web 2, the protocol is the only thing that accrues the value. So people want just a tiny chance of being a massive billionaire. But in Web 3, the mindset is build on the platform, because every piece is a Lego brick. Value flows through all the pieces rather than just being gobbled up by the first piece. Another Web 2 mindset, suppress innovation to ensure that value accrues to the platform. The Web 3 equivalent is encourage innovation because value will accrue to all. As a visual representation, in Web 2, the investors and the people who build the platform, they capture nearly all the value. But in Web 3, that value can be shared amongst all. And it can be mediated by a token. Now, I don't have enough time to go into all the specifics of tokens. I'm going to try and keep this understandable. Tokens are a bit like stocks. They're also called cryptocurrencies. I don't like that name because it makes people think of currency and then they go, oh, why is it currency? Why does it have value? Blah, blah, blah. It's a bit like stocks, okay? But they govern a code base rather than a company. So the changes to the code base are voted on by the token holders. And that means that token holders can vote on things like how revenue can accrue or be distributed. Tokens can be bought, sold, traded. They can be programmed to do pretty much anything you want, and there are some very creative people doing creative things with tokens. But most importantly, the thing I want to focus on is that tokens solve what's called the cold start problem, which is when you're in this early phase of the network, when you don't have many users, when the platform is not that good, it's really hard to get things going. Tokens can provide a financial incentive to offset that. So to give a financial incentive to the early users and creators. This is a graph of crypto ownership versus Web3 usage. So basically what this is showing is that quite a lot of people own crypto. It's about 8% of the world, or 10 to 15% of the UK. But only 0.8% of the world actually use Web3. Most people just want to buy crypto to speculate on the financial upside. But that small proportion that use Web3 is growing so fast. Here's a chart of it. Over the last 5 years, it's up 25,000%. It's projected to reach between 500 million and 1 billion users in the next 5 years. So the point of this really is use Web3 apps. This is a call to use Web3 apps. I've heard some people say there are no apps, which is hilarious. I find there are people who aren't using apps, aren't looking for apps, haven't even downloaded a Web3-enabled wallet. They keep their crypto on an exchange and have never spent crypto in their life. This was one of my most popular posts on Farcaster. I earned about £2 for this, by the way. I know that's not very much, but it's quite cool. I've been posting on social media for 17 years. I joined Facebook in 2008, and I've never earned a penny. So that was quite cool. So how do you use Web3 apps? Here's an example. It's Zora. It's like Instagram, but with tokens. This is Aave. You can borrow and lend. This is Uniswap. You can swap tokens. This is Polymarket, where it's a prediction market. You can look at news with a higher probability of being right on here. This is a game I'm addicted to called Sunflower Land. It's great. If you want to take a picture of this slide, it's basically a walkthrough of how do you actually use Web3 apps. This QR code will take you to download Coinbase Wallet, which is it's just a wallet that I like. I like it because it suggests stuff for you to do. I will warn you, there is a steep learning curve in doing this. So, if you're going to put in a bit of crypto into it, be small with it. You can lose it quite easily. Okay, I'll wait for you to take that picture. What I'm coming to here is that this is a new era of the internet. This is an era of creativity, of innovation, and of freedom. And it's time to start dreaming, to dream that everyone can build, to dream that everyone can have a voice again, to dream that everyone can belong, everyone can share, to hope for a better internet. Big tech won't build the next internet, we will. Thank you for listening.